Many knew Elvis the performer, but few saw these quiet moments of his private life. This photo from around 1969 captures a warm family scene, likely at Graceland. We see Elvis with Priscilla holding their young daughter, Lisa Marie. But the other figures are just as important to his inner circle. Standing nearby is Charlie Hodge, not just a backup musician, but one of Elvis's closest confidants and a loyal friend who lived at Graceland for years. Seated is Elvis's beloved paternal grandmother, Minnie Mae Presley, whom he called Dodger. After Elvis bought Graceland, he moved his parents and grandmother into the home. Minnie Mae outlived both her son Vernon and Elvis, remaining at the estate. This image is a rare glimpse into the multi-generational household Elvis built, showing the personal world behind the public icon. This is the moment that would change rock and roll history forever. On September 13, 1959, a 24-year-old Elvis Presley, then a U.S. soldier stationed in West Germany, met 14-year-old Priscilla Bewley. The meeting wasn't by chance. A mutual friend arranged for Priscilla to attend a small gathering at Elvis's rented home in Bad Nauheim. Priscilla, whose stepfather was a U.S. Air Force captain, was understandably nervous. Elvis, however, worked to put her at ease, even playing songs at the piano to impress her. Despite the age difference, Elvis was immediately captivated, seeing in her a resemblance to his recently deceased mother, Gladys. This single evening marked the beginning of a legendary and complex 8-year courtship that would eventually lead to their famous marriage. 2 years after the world lost the king, Priscilla Presley began writing her own new chapter. This appearance on Good Morning America in 1979 was a significant step in defining her public identity, separate from just being Elvis's wife. At this time, she was not only a single mother, but was also becoming a savvy businesswoman. She had recently been named an executor of the Presley estate, which was facing serious financial challenges. This television appearance marks her emergence into the public eye as a personality and entrepreneur in her own right. It was during this period that she began laying the groundwork to turn Graceland into the major tourist attraction it is today, a decision that would secure the Presley legacy and fortune for generations to come. This wasn't a performance, it was a pilgrimage. While Elvis is famously linked to the USS Arizona Memorial for his 1961 benefit concert that helped fund its construction, this photo captures a different, more somber visit. Taken on May 27, 1968, this image shows Elvis, Priscilla, and his friend Charlie Hodge arriving at the memorial in Oahu. They were in Hawaii for a much-needed vacation following the birth of their daughter, Lisa Marie, just a few months earlier. This trip was a brief period of calm before the storm. Elvis was on the cusp of one of the most critical moments of his career, his legendary '68 comeback special, which would film that summer and completely revitalize his status as the king of rock and roll. While Elvis was conquering Las Vegas, life continued back at Graceland. This charming photo from 1970 shows Priscilla and a 2-year-old Lisa Marie enjoying a quiet day in the gardens of their home. By 1970, Elvis's career was in high gear following his '68 comeback. He was performing sold-out shows and had secured his massive residency at the International Hotel in Las Vegas. This meant he was often away from home for long stretches. Photos like this capture the domestic world that Priscilla maintained for their daughter. It represents the other side of the king's life, the family waiting for him back in Memphis. The peaceful setting in the Graceland Gardens stands in stark contrast to the explosive energy of Elvis's life on stage during this remarkable period. This photo captures a major turning point, both personally and professionally. Taken in October 1967, it shows a pregnant Priscilla visiting Elvis on the set of his movie, Stay Away Joe. Having married just 5 months earlier, they were expecting their first child, Lisa Marie, in a few months. Also visible is the ever-present Colonel Tom Parker and members of the Memphis Mafia. While this looks like a happy gathering, this period was professionally frustrating for Elvis. He was deep into his Hollywood contract years, making formulaic movies that he felt were stifling his artistry. Stay Away Joe was one of the last of these films. This image perfectly freezes that moment in time. Elvis, the family man, soon to be a father, but also the artist, trapped in a career he longed to change. 1968 was the year Elvis risked everything to reclaim his crown, and this photo shows what he was fighting for. We see Priscilla holding their infant daughter Lisa Marie, who was born that February. This image, capturing a tender moment at Graceland, represents the profound personal changes happening in Elvis's life. While Priscilla was adjusting to new motherhood, Elvis was preparing for the biggest gamble of his career, his NBC television special, which would become known as the '68 comeback. After years of making movies, he was terrified of performing live again. This picture of his new family serves as a powerful reminder of the personal stakes involved as he fought to transition from movie star back to the king of rock and roll. This is the moment the hometown boy proved he had conquered the world. In September 1956, Elvis Presley returned to his birthplace of Tupelo, Mississippi, as the biggest star on the planet. This wasn't just any concert, it was a triumphant homecoming. He performed at the Mississippi-Alabama Fair and Dairy Show, the very same fair where he had competed in a talent contest as a 10-year-old boy. Back then, he sang Old Shep and came in 5th place. Now, just 11 years later, he returned as the king. His parents, Gladys and Vernon, watched proudly from the audience as the mayor of Tupelo presented Elvis with a key to the city. This event was a powerful symbol of his meteoric rise from humble beginnings to international superstardom. This looks like a perfect Hollywood family portrait, but it hides a fascinating story. Taken on December 10, 1970, this photo shoot captures Elvis, Priscilla, and a nearly 3-year-old Lisa Marie at their home on Hillcrest Drive in Beverly Hills. It presents an image of domestic bliss during the peak of his Vegas comeback. However, the timing of this photo is extraordinary. Just 11 days after this picture was taken, Elvis would fly to Washington, D.C. and famously show up at the White House gate to request a meeting with President Richard Nixon. This seemingly idyllic family photo was taken right before one of the most surreal and famous encounters of his life, where he would request a federal narcotics badge. This photo isn't a casual snapshot, it's from a themed party. Taken in December 1959, just a few months after they first met, this image shows Elvis and Priscilla at a costume party Elvis hosted at his home in Bad Nauheim, Germany. While serving in the U.S. Army, Elvis often hosted gatherings to pass the time, and this shipwreck-themed party was one of them. We see a 14-year-old Priscilla and a 24-year-old Elvis dressed in matching sailor-style outfits. During this period, Priscilla would visit Elvis as often as possible, chaperoned, of course. These early days in Germany were foundational, setting the stage for their long-distance relationship when Elvis returned to the United States the following year. It's a glimpse into the unique, almost surreal world they built together from the very beginning. This candid moment captures Elvis and Priscilla at Graceland during the Christmas season of 1965. At this time, Elvis was 30 and Priscilla was 20, with their wedding still about a year and a half away. This period was the height of Elvis's Hollywood career. He had just wrapped filming on Paradise Hawaiian Style. Christmas was famously Elvis's favorite time of year, and he cherished these quiet periods at home in Memphis, away from the demanding movie schedules. This photo offers a rare and intimate glimpse of the couple during their long courtship. It showcases a simpler time, before the whirlwind of their 1967 marriage and the birth of Lisa Marie, capturing the private side of their relationship at his beloved home. This photo marks a monumental milestone, Elvis's very first Christmas at Graceland in 1957. He had purchased the mansion just 9 months earlier, in March, fulfilling a promise to his parents, Vernon and Gladys. This holiday was especially significant. At 22, Elvis was the biggest star in the world, with hits like Jailhouse Rock dominating the charts. However, a major life change was looming. Just days before Christmas, on December 20th, Elvis received his official draft notice from the U.S. Army. This celebration was therefore bittersweet, representing both the incredible success he had achieved and the last Christmas he would spend at home for several years. It was also, tragically, the last Christmas he would ever share with his mother, Gladys, who passed away the following August. Here we see a 21-year-old Priscilla Bewley looking every bit the future Mrs. Presley. This photo was taken on New Year's Eve, December 31, 1966, as she was on her way to a party at the Manhattan Club in Memphis. This was a popular local nightclub that Elvis and his entourage often frequented. This night was particularly special. It was the last New Year's Eve she would celebrate as Priscilla Bewley. In just 4 months, on May 1, 1967, she and Elvis would be married in a private ceremony in Las Vegas. This image captures the excitement and anticipation of that time, as she stood on the brink of her new life as the wife of the world's most famous entertainer. What a difference a few years make! This photo shows Elvis and Priscilla ringing in the new decade on December 31, 1969, at a Memphis nightclub called TJ's. This wasn't just any New Year celebration, it was a victory lap. 1969 was the year of Elvis's triumphant return to the stage. After years in Hollywood, he had launched a record-breaking, sold-out engagement at the International Hotel in Las Vegas that summer, re-establishing himself as the undeniable king of live performance. This celebration in his hometown of Memphis was a chance to relax and savor that incredible success. He was back on top, with Priscilla by his side, entering 1970 with a renewed career and unstoppable momentum. This image, likely from a vacation in Hawaii in 1972, holds a special clue for dedicated fans. The large, ornate cross necklace Elvis is wearing is a key identifier. He primarily wore this specific piece of jewelry during the 1971 and 1972 period, making it a reliable way to date photos from this era. The physical photo itself was printed in March 1973, which often happened months after the picture was taken. 1972 was a significant year for Elvis. He was touring extensively across the United States, and this Hawaiian trip would have been a welcome rest. It was also just before he would return to Hawaii in January 1973 for his revolutionary Aloha from Hawaii, the first of its kind. Even in the 1950s, amidst the whirlwind of Elvis mania, the star always made time for his fans. This photo captures a simple, gentle moment between the king of rock and roll and a very young admirer. During this decade, Elvis's fame exploded, creating a level of fan devotion never seen before. He was constantly surrounded by crowds, but images like this show his softer side. He understood that his success came from these fans, and he rarely missed an opportunity to sign an autograph or pose for a picture. This interaction is a perfect example of the personal connection he forged with his audience, a bond that helped cement his status as a cultural icon for decades to come. This heart-hardening photo, taken in February 1968, shows a 33-year-old Elvis as a brand-new father. He is seen cradling his newborn daughter, Lisa Marie Presley, who had been born just days earlier on February 1st. This image was likely taken at Graceland after the family returned from the hospital. 1968 would become one of the most important years of his entire career. While he was adjusting to fatherhood and this new, profound personal change, he was also deep in preparation for his comeback special. This picture represents the immense personal joy that grounded him as he prepared to take the biggest professional risk of his life and reclaim his title as the king. This image showcases a pivotal moment in Elvis's stage style. This is the white Cossack suit, which he debuted at his opening show at the International Hotel in Las Vegas on January 26, 1970. Designed by Bill Belew, this was the first of the two-piece jumper-style outfits, paired here with a macrame belt. This specific outfit was worn again for his legendary performances at the Houston Astrodome just a month later. This suit was the beginning of an evolution. It bridged the gap from the black leather of the '68 comeback to the elaborate high-collared one-piece jumpsuits that would soon become his signature look, defining the final, spectacular chapter of his career. This snapshot from February 1st, 1973 captures the celebration for Lisa Marie's 5th birthday. By this time, Elvis and Priscilla's relationship had changed significantly. They had separated the previous year, in 1972, and their divorce would be finalized later in 1973. However, despite their separation, they remained deeply committed to co-parenting their daughter. Birthday parties and holidays were often spent together as a family. This photo is a testament to the amicable and loving relationship they maintained for Lisa Marie's sake. It shows a moment of shared joy, proving that even though their marriage was ending, their family bond, centered around their daughter, would endure. This charming photo shoot from February 1st, 1974 celebrates Lisa Marie's 6th birthday. It showcases the incredibly close bond between mother and daughter. Priscilla, who by this time was establishing her own identity and career, poses with Lisa in identical, fashionable outfits. This matching outfit trend was popular, but for Priscilla and Lisa, it highlighted their striking resemblance and strong connection. Living in Los Angeles after her separation from Elvis, Priscilla focused on creating a stable and loving environment for her daughter. This photo shoot is a beautiful, professional portrait of that special relationship, capturing a happy moment in time for the two Presley women. This photo takes us back to the very roots of the Elvis Presley story. These are his maternal grandparents, Robert Lee Smith and Octavia Dahl Mansell, on their wedding day, September 19, 1903. They are the parents of Elvis's beloved mother, Gladys Love Smith. Elvis was famously devoted to his mother, and this image shows the family she came from. Dahl Mansell was reportedly a high-energy, worrisome woman, traits that many said she passed down to her daughter Gladys. Robert Smith was a farmer. This couple represents the humble, hard-working, and deeply Southern origins from which the future king of rock and roll would emerge, a background that heavily influenced his music and his character. This photograph provides a rare look into Elvis's personal life after his separation from Priscilla. Taken in the mid-1970s, it shows Elvis and his daughter, Lisa Marie, with his serious girlfriend at the time, Linda Thompson. But the group is larger. They are joined by Linda's brother, Sam Thompson, and his wife, Louise. Sam Thompson was not just family, he was also one of Elvis's personal bodyguards and a member of the Memphis Mafia from 1972 until 1977. This image illustrates how intertwined Elvis's personal and professional lives were. Linda was a constant presence, and her family, including Sam, became part of Elvis's trusted inner circle during these later years at Graceland. 4 days after the birth of his first and only child, Elvis Presley proudly introduced her to the world. This photo was taken on February 5, 1968, as Elvis and Priscilla prepared to leave Baptist Memorial Hospital in Memphis with their newborn Lisa Marie. The press had gathered, and Elvis, dressed impeccably in a black coat, beamed with pride as he held his daughter, who was wrapped in a hospital blanket. Priscilla, a new mother at 22, looked on. This was a moment of pure joy and a major public event. The king finally had an heir. This iconic set of photos would be seen around the globe, celebrating the happy news for the world's biggest star. Just 9 days after becoming a father, Elvis took some time for one of his favorite pastimes. This photo captures him horseback riding on the grounds of Graceland on February 10, 1968. Elvis had loved horses since his childhood, but he truly began building his stables at Graceland in 1966. He purchased a horse named Rising Sun for Priscilla and a horse named Domino for himself. Riding became a major passion and a way to escape the pressures of fame. This image, showing him riding just days after Lisa Marie's birth, illustrates how he balanced his newfound fatherhood with the personal hobbies that helped him relax and feel normal at his Memphis home. This is the intimate moment the Beaulieu family officially welcomed their first grandchild. Taken in February 1968, likely at Graceland shortly after Priscilla and Lisa Marie returned from the hospital, this photo shows the newborn being admired by her extended family. In the images, we see Lisa's maternal grandfather, Captain Paul Beaulieu, Priscilla's father. Also present are Priscilla's younger sister, Michelle, and her brother, Don. This was a proud family moment, showing 3 generations together. It captures the personal, quiet side of a birth that was a massive international news story, grounding the event in the simple joy of a family welcoming its newest member. Elvis's legendary generosity is on full display in this photograph from February 17, 1968. Just weeks after Lisa Marie was born, Elvis presented this gift to his new brother-in-law, Don Beaulieu, Priscilla's younger brother. The gift was a brand new 1966 Ford Mustang, given to Don right before he left to attend college. Elvis was known for spontaneously giving extravagant gifts, especially cars, to his friends, family, and even complete strangers. This act wasn't just for show, it was a genuine part of his character. This moment at Graceland perfectly illustrates how Elvis shared his immense wealth, welcoming Priscilla's family into his own with this incredibly generous gesture. This relaxed family portrait, taken in the early 1970s, captures the Presley family at their home on Hillcrest Drive in Beverly Hills. This was their California residence, a place where Elvis lived when he was working in Hollywood or, in this era, preparing for his Las Vegas shows. The photo shows Elvis, Priscilla, and a young Lisa Marie in a casual, intimate setting. It's a striking contrast to the explosive, sequined image of Elvis on stage. This period, from 1970 to 1972, was the peak of his comeback, but it was also a time of personal change. This image freezes a moment of domestic peace right in the middle of one of the most dynamic phases of his career. This promotional photo, taken in 1969, is for the film Charo and shows Elvis with his co-star Ina Balin. This movie was a significant departure for Elvis. After years of complaining about formulaic musical comedies, Colonel Parker finally allowed him to take on a serious, dramatic role. In Charo, Elvis plays a reformed outlaw, and notably, he does not sing on camera at all, the only time in his acting career. The film was a gritty western, and Elvis grew a beard for the role, trying to change his image. While the movie wasn't a huge box office success, it represented Elvis's desire to be taken seriously as an actor, a goal he had held since the beginning of his career. This tender photograph shows Elvis's father, Vernon Presley, with his only grandchild, Lisa Marie. Vernon was a constant, quiet presence throughout Elvis's life and career. After Elvis's mother, Gladys, passed away in 1958, Vernon managed Elvis's personal finances and oversaw the Graceland estate. He was the man Elvis trusted most with his business affairs. When Lisa Marie was born, Vernon became a doting grandfather. This photo captures that special, multi-generational bond within the Presley family. After Elvis's passing in 1977, Vernon became the executor of his estate, and it was upon Vernon's own passing in 1979 that Priscilla stepped in to help manage the family legacy. This snapshot from December 2, 1983, shows Priscilla Presley at Monk Key's restaurant in Los Angeles. By this time, she had truly emerged as a successful businesswoman and a public figure in her own right. Just 1 year earlier, in 1982, she had made the monumental decision to open Graceland to the public, a brilliant move that saved the Presley estate from financial ruin and secured the family's legacy. In 1983, she was also embarking on her own acting career, landing the role of Jenna Wade on the hit television series Dallas. This photo captures her during that successful and transformative period, a confident entrepreneur and actress who had crafted her own identity. This is a fascinating and rare pairing. Taken around 1968 or 1969, this photo shows a very young Lisa Marie Presley with Colonel Tom Parker, Elvis's longtime controversial manager. The Colonel was a towering figure in Elvis's life, controlling every aspect of his career, from movie deals to merchandise. While he was a business manager, his relationship with Elvis's family was complex. Seeing him here with Elvis's daughter is unusual. It's a glimpse behind the curtain, showing the man who orchestrated the king's career interacting on a personal level with the king's only child, the sole heir to the massive empire he was helping to build. This photo from March 1976 shows Priscilla Presley with her younger sister, Michelle Beaulieu. After Priscilla's divorce from Elvis in 1973, she remained in Los Angeles with Lisa Marie and began building her own life. She and Michelle, who is 6 years younger, have always maintained a close relationship. In 1973, Priscilla had opened her own successful clothing boutique in Beverly Hills called Biz & Beau, a venture she co-owned with her friend Olivia Biz. This photo captures Priscilla during this independent post-Elvis period, focusing on her own business, her family, and motherhood as she navigated her new life in California. Animals were a constant presence at Graceland, and this photo shows Priscilla with her beloved poodle, Honey. This picture, taken in 1966, shows a pre-marriage Priscilla relaxing at the Graceland pool. Honey was a gift from Elvis. According to legend, Elvis first gave Priscilla a dog named Sweet Pea, but when it wasn't house-trained, he took it back and replaced it with this miniature poodle. Honey was famously Priscilla's constant companion during the 1960s, often photographed with her in and around the mansion. This image is a sweet, personal look at her life at Graceland before she became Mrs. Presley, showing the quieter, domestic side of her world. This photograph, taken in Wiesbaden, Germany, in April 1961, captures a 15-year-old Priscilla Beaulieu. This was a difficult and pivotal time for her. Elvis, having completed his military service, had returned to the United States over a year earlier, in March 1960. Priscilla was left behind in Germany to finish school, all while maintaining a long-distance relationship with the world's biggest star. This was a period of great uncertainty. She was bombarded by reports of his Hollywood romances and was unsure if he would truly send for her. This photo shows the young woman she was, patiently waiting and holding out hope that their relationship would continue across the ocean. This photo, taken on April 24, 1980, shows Priscilla Presley in Beverly Hills. This was a crucial time for the Presley legacy. Elvis had been gone for nearly 3 years, and his estate was facing serious financial trouble. His father, Vernon, who had been the executor, had passed away in 1979. Priscilla was now a co-executor, and she was discovering the estate was worth far less than anyone imagined. It was during this exact period that she was researching ways to save Graceland. This image captures her not as a grieving widow, but as a concerned and determined businesswoman on the verge of making the multi-million-dollar decision to open Graceland to the public, a move that would change everything. This family portrait introduces us to Ginger Alden, the woman who would become Elvis's final girlfriend. Pictured here are Ginger, her parents, Walter and Joe, and her sister Rosemary. The Alden family had connections to Elvis before Ginger even met him. In fact, it was her sister Rosemary, who would been Miss Tennessee, who was invited to Graceland and brought 20-year-old Ginger along in late 1976. Elvis was immediately taken with Ginger. This photo represents the family that became part of Elvis's inner circle during the last 9 months of his life. Elvis proposed to Ginger in January 1977, and she was with him at Graceland when he passed away that August. This peaceful photo from April 1966 shows Elvis and Priscilla in a location that would one day become one of the most sacred spots in music history, the Meditation Garden at Graceland. At this time, the garden was newly constructed, having been built between 1964 and 1965. Elvis had it designed as a place for quiet reflection, featuring a circular pool, a pergola, and statues. It was one of his favorite places on the entire property. Neither of them could have known the profound significance this spot would later hold. Today, this very garden serves as the final resting place for Elvis, his parents, Vernon and Gladys, and his grandmother. This photo from around 1975 shows Priscilla Presley mingling with Hollywood royalty. She is pictured with the legendary actress Angela Lansbury and her husband, producer Peter Shore. After her divorce from Elvis, Priscilla became a respected figure in the Los Angeles social scene. She had opened her successful boutique, Biz & Beau, and was beginning to explore opportunities in entertainment. This image shows her transition from being the king's wife to being a personality in her own right, networking with some of the industry's most established figures. This was years before she would join Dallas, but it shows she was already making the connections that would lead to her own successful career. This photo captures Elvis Presley with his last serious girlfriend, Ginger Alden. They met in November 1976 and were together until his passing in August 1977. Elvis, who is 41, proposed to the 20-year-old Ginger at Graceland in January 1977, giving her a large diamond ring. During these final months, Ginger often accompanied Elvis on his concert tours and spent most of her time at Graceland. This photo represents the final romantic chapter of his life. Despite his declining health, he was making plans for the future, which included another marriage. This image is a poignant look at the woman who was by his side at the very end. This rare photo from around 1963 shows a teenage Priscilla Bewley outside the famous gates of Graceland. This was a pivotal and highly unusual time in her life. After meeting in Germany, Priscilla had convinced her parents to let her move to Memphis to be with Elvis. The arrangement was that she would live with Elvis's father, Vernon, and his stepmother, Dee, in their home on the Graceland property, not in the main house itself. She was to finish her senior year of high school at the local Immaculate Conception High School. This image captures that unique period of transition, before she officially lived in Graceland and before she became Mrs. Presley. Long before she was rock and roll royalty, Priscilla Beaulieu was a child of a military family. This photo from the 1950s shows her years before she would meet the world's biggest star. Her early life was marked by change. Her biological father, pilot James Wagner, passed away when she was just 6 months old. Her mother, Anne, later married Paul Beaulieu, a U.S. Air Force officer whose career moved the family frequently, including to bases in Texas and Maine. This upbringing in a structured, disciplined military environment shaped her character, instilling a resilience that would be essential for the incredible life that lay ahead. It was this military connection that would eventually place her in Germany, in the orbit of Elvis Presley. This November 1963 photo in Hollywood captures a moment of deep complexity in their relationship. Elvis was in town filming Viva Las Vegas, and this visit from an 18-year-old Priscilla was a rare exception to his rule. He preferred her to stay at Graceland, where she was finishing high school, far away from the Hollywood scene. The reason? During this exact period, Elvis was involved in a passionate and widely publicized affair with his co-star Anne Margaret. This visit was likely a tense one, part of the difficult balance Elvis tried to maintain between his public life, his on-set romances, and the young woman he was molding back home in Memphis. Who did Priscilla lean on during and after her life with Elvis? This photo from the early 1970s shows her with Joan Esposito, who was more than just a friend. Joan was the wife of Joe Esposito, Elvis's road manager and one of the most prominent members of the Memphis Mafia. The wives of Elvis's entourage formed their own tight-knit sorority, often called the Ladies. They shared a unique and often isolating experience, supporting each other while their husbands were on the road or catering to the king's every need. Even after Priscilla's separation from Elvis, she maintained close friendships with women like Joan, who understood the surreal world of Graceland in a way no one else could. This rare photo captures a crucial turning point. On January 24, 1982, Priscilla Presley attended the Manila International Film Festival in the Philippines, not as a guest, but as a working celebrity. At this time, she was a co-host for the popular American television show, Those Amazing Animals. This was a significant moment in her strategic plan to build her own identity. It happened just 5 months before she would make her most important business decision, opening Graceland to the public. And it was a year before she would land her iconic role on Dallas. This appearance in Manila shows her successful transition from Elvis's widow to an independent international personality. How do you raise a child in the shadow of a legend? This paparazzi photo from the late 70s or early 80s captures the central challenge of Priscilla's life after 1977. Following Elvis's passing, she became the sole guardian of Lisa Marie, the heir to his name but not yet his fortune, as the estate was in debt. Priscilla chose to raise her daughter in Los Angeles, determined to provide a normal life, far from the fishbowl of Graceland. Photos like this illustrate the constant public scrutiny they faced. This period defines Priscilla's strength as a single mother, shielding her daughter from the press while simultaneously fighting to preserve her inheritance, a battle she would win by opening Graceland. This photo shows the family that was at the center of a rock and roll fairy tale. We see a teenage Priscilla Beaulieu in West Germany with her mother, Anne, and her younger half-siblings, Jeff and Michelle. This was the Beaulieu family unit after Anne's husband, U.S. Air Force Captain Paul Beaulieu, was stationed in Wiesbaden. It was from this home that 14-year-old Priscilla was invited to a party at Elvis Presley's nearby rented house in Bad Nauheim. This image is a fascinating glimpse into her life, right before it changed forever. It shows the ordinary, respectable military family that found itself having to make the extraordinary decision to entrust their young daughter to the world's biggest superstar. It's one of the most famous weddings in history, but the details are fascinating. After an 8-year courtship, Elvis and Priscilla were married on May 1, 1967. The ceremony itself, held in a private suite at the Aladdin Hotel in Las Vegas, was arranged by Colonel Tom Parker and lasted only 8 minutes. It was scheduled for 9 a.m. to avoid the press, who were caught completely off guard. The guest list was extremely small, which deeply hurt many of Elvis's closest friends. Immediately after, the couple held a champagne breakfast for 100 guests before boarding Frank Sinatra's private jet to fly to their Palm Springs honeymoon. Even the king of rock and roll had a favorite record store. This was Poplar Tunes in Memphis, a spot Elvis absolutely loved. In 1957, as seen here, he was the biggest name in music, yet he still cherished the simple act of browsing for new albums. The owner would often open the store late at night just for Elvis and his friends. They would come in after midnight, and Elvis would spend hours pulling records from the shelves, listening to new R&B, gospel, and blues artists. This photo captures that connection. It shows him not just as a global superstar, but as a true music fan, checking out the charts where his own hits, like Jailhouse Rock, reign supreme. This wasn't the wedding. This was the real celebration. This photo was taken on April 30, 1967, the night before the official ceremony. Elvis and Priscilla are at their Palm Springs honeymoon hideaway home, surrounded by their true inner circle. While the Las Vegas wedding the next morning would be a brief 8-minute event orchestrated by Colonel Parker for the press, this gathering was for them. It was a relaxed engagement party with their closest friends and family, the Memphis Mafia and their wives. This was their chance to celebrate privately before being flown to Las Vegas on Frank Sinatra's jet in the early hours of the morning for the highly controlled, public-facing ceremony. Behind the smiles of this iconic photo lies a story of pressure and control. The May 1, 1967 wedding was less a romantic fairy tale and more a strategic move by Colonel Tom Parker. He allegedly arranged the event at the Aladdin Hotel to settle a gambling debt with the hotel's owner. Priscilla, then 21, had to find her dress in secret, settling on an off-the-rack beaded chiffon gown. The ceremony was famously brief. Afterward, they faced the press for a breakfast reception featuring a 6-tier rum-soaked sponge cake. This event was the culmination of a complex 8-year courtship, finally legalized under the watchful eye of Elvis's manager in a classic Las Vegas deal. This photo captures one of the most emotional farewells in Elvis's life. This is March 1958 at the Central train station in Memphis. Elvis is not leaving for a tour. He is leaving to join the U.S. Army. He is surrounded by the 3 most important people in his world at that time. We see his beloved mother, Gladys, and his father, Vernon, saying goodbye to their son. Clinging to his arm is Anita Wood, a popular Memphis DJ and Elvis's serious girlfriend. This was the woman he left behind before he ever met Priscilla. This moment was the end of the first chapter of his career and, tragically, one of his last major public goodbyes to his mother. At just 36 years old, Elvis Presley received an honor typically reserved for the end of a long career. On August 28, 1971, he was presented with the Lifetime Achievement Award from the National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences, the organization behind the Grammys. Elvis had often felt overlooked by the industry, which primarily nominated his gospel work. This award was a profound validation of his entire cultural impact. It was presented to him in Las Vegas during his summer engagement at the International Hotel. This recognition solidified his status not just as a rock star, but as one of the most influential artists of the 20th century. This is how legends travel. Immediately following their 8-minute wedding and press reception at the Aladdin Hotel on May 1, 1967, Elvis and Priscilla walked out to board this private jet. But it wasn't just any jet, it was Frank Sinatra's personal Learjet, the Christina II. This was a significant gesture of friendship between 2 of the biggest stars on the planet. Elvis and Sinatra had a complex relationship, evolving from rivals to friends. The loan of this jet was a symbol of mutual respect. It whisked the newlyweds away from the Las Vegas chaos, delivering them to their Palm Springs honeymoon hideaway to begin their married life in privacy and style. This wasn't just any house. It was the house of tomorrow. This photo captures Elvis and Priscilla during their May 1967 honeymoon at their rented home in Palm Springs, California. The futuristic circular house is now an architectural landmark. Elvis famously carried Priscilla over the threshold here, singing the Hawaiian wedding song. This location is a key part of the Presley family history for another reason. It was during this honeymoon that their daughter, Lisa Marie, was conceived. They had leased the home for a year, and it served as their private desert oasis, a stark contrast to the crowds of Graceland and the chaos of Hollywood. This press conference on May 4, 1982 wasn't just an announcement, it was a last-ditch effort to save a legacy. After Elvis's death, Graceland's annual upkeep was costing the estate nearly $500,000, and his inheritance was dwindling fast. As co-executor, Priscilla Presley had a difficult choice: sell her daughter's childhood home or take a massive financial risk. Against the advice of many financial experts, she chose to bet on the fans. She announced that Graceland would open to the public on June 7th. This decision was a brilliant business move that not only saved the estate but turned it into a global phenomenon, preserving Elvis's home for millions. The woman in this 1982 photo is not just Elvis's widow. She is an architect of a legacy. At 37 years old, Priscilla Presley was in the midst of the most transformative year of her life. With the Presley estate facing potential bankruptcy, she took charge. Against all advice, she masterminded the plan to open Graceland to the public, a venture that launched in June of this year to overwhelming success. Simultaneously, she was a co-host on the popular TV show Those Amazing Animals, establishing her own public identity. This image captures Priscilla at the precise moment she stepped out of Elvis's shadow, becoming a formidable businesswoman and the savvy protector of his entire legend. This vacation was the calm before the next storm. In May 1969, Elvis and Priscilla visited the famous Halona blowhole in Oahu. This was a critical moment of rest. Elvis had successfully conquered television with his '68 comeback special and was just 3 months away from his monumental return to live performing at the International Hotel in Las Vegas. This trip to Hawaii, one of his favorite places on Earth, was a chance to recharge before that high-stakes engagement. This very location is also famous in movie history, as the nearby Halona Cove is where the iconic beach scene from Here to Eternity was filmed. This was more than a vacation, it was a family's first trip. In May 1968, Elvis and Priscilla brought their baby daughter Lisa Marie to Hawaii for the first time. She was only 3 months old. This trip was a necessary escape before Elvis faced one of the biggest challenges of his career. He was just weeks away from filming his NBC television special, the show that would become the legendary '68 comeback. He was reportedly very nervous about the project, and this Hawaiian getaway was his last chance to relax with his new family. It was a brief moment of private family time before he would step back into the spotlight and reclaim his crown. When Elvis went on vacation, the entire entourage came with him. This May 1968 photo from Hawaii shows the wives of the inner circle, often called the ladies. We see Priscilla alongside Joan Esposito, who was married to road manager Joe Esposito, and Patsy Presley, who was married to Elvis's cousin and Memphis Mafia member Gigi. While Elvis and the men relaxed, the wives formed their own close bond. They were sharing the unique experience of being part of this traveling circus. This was the vacation taken just before Elvis filmed his '68 comeback special, a rare moment of leisure for the entire extended Graceland family. This photo shows Elvis Presley in peak physical condition. Taken during his Hawaiian vacation in May 1969, this image captures him at the absolute height of his comeback era. He was lean, strong, and radiating confidence. He had spent the past year dedicating himself to physical fitness and karate, preparing his body for the strenuous demands of live performance. This was not just a holiday, it was the final period of preparation. In less than 3 months, he would walk onto the stage at the International Hotel in Las Vegas, launching the most successful concert residency of his life. This image is the before picture of his final, iconic transformation. For Priscilla, a vacation with Elvis was never a private affair. This 1969 photo from Hawaii shows her relaxing with friends, who were often the wives of the Memphis Mafia members. As the First Lady of Graceland, Priscilla's role was part hostess, part confidant, managing the social dynamics of the tight-knit inner circle. This trip took place in May, just before Elvis's explosive return to the Las Vegas stage. While Elvis focused on his impending comeback, Priscilla and the ladies created their own sense of normalcy and friendship, enjoying the sun in one of the few places Elvis could truly escape the public eye. This 1969 photo captures a brief moment of peace in a rapidly changing marriage. Here, Elvis and Priscilla enjoy a quiet moment in Hawaii. Their daughter Lisa Marie was just over a year old. This trip served as a second honeymoon and a crucial reconnection. The '68 comeback special had reignited Elvis's career, and he was now preparing for his legendary Las Vegas residency. This new chapter would bring immense success, but it would also put enormous strain on their relationship, leading to long separations. This vacation was one of their last idyllic getaways as a couple before the pressures of the 1970s began to take their toll. This is the face that Elvis wanted the world to see. This stunning portrait of Priscilla was taken on May 10, 1966, almost exactly 1 year before her wedding. She was 20 years old. This photo perfectly captures the iconic look she cultivated during her Graceland years, a style heavily influenced by Elvis himself. The towering jet black hair, the thick dark eyeliner, and the pale lipstick were all elements he adored. This was Priscilla as the living doll Elvis had envisioned, a look she mastered. These portraits from the Blue Light Studio in Memphis represent the peak of her pre-marriage identity, a carefully crafted image of the king's chosen girl. This woman, Anne Beaulieu, made one of the most difficult decisions a mother can make. This photo shows Priscilla with her mother, who was the central, guiding force in her early life. When 14-year-old Priscilla was pursued by Elvis in Germany, it was Anne and her husband Paul who set the strict rules. And when Elvis asked for Priscilla to move to Memphis, it was Anne who had to be convinced. She only agreed on the condition that Priscilla would finish high school and live with Vernon and Dee, not Elvis. This picture represents the strong maternal bond that had to navigate an unprecedented situation, ultimately trusting her daughter with the biggest star on earth. Even in their glamorous Beverly Hills home, they were a family with pets. This 1969 photo captures a rare, informal moment at their 1174 Hillcrest Drive residence. Elvis, Priscilla, and a young Lisa Marie relax in their yard with their dogs. Animals were a constant at all of Elvis's homes. The small dog is likely Priscilla's beloved poodle, Honey, while Elvis also owned a Great Dane named Brutus around this time. This scene of domestic life is a striking contrast to the explosive energy of this period. Elvis was in the middle of his comeback, filming movies and preparing for his Las Vegas debut, but this image shows him simply as a husband and father. This film brought together two of music's most famous last names. Released in 1968, Speedway paired Elvis with Nancy Sinatra, who was at the height of her "These Boots Are Made for Walkin'" fame. The movie, which featured Elvis as a race car driver, was filmed in the summer of 1967, right after his wedding. The connection was notable, as Elvis and her father, Frank Sinatra, had become friends. However, this film marked a low point. Its soundtrack was the worst selling of his career up to that point. It was a clear signal that the public was tired of his movie formula, and it became the last musical comedy he filmed before his '68 comeback. Why did Elvis and Priscilla have two wedding receptions? This photo is from their second reception, held at Graceland on May 29, 1967. Their Las Vegas wedding earlier that month had been a small, hurried affair, orchestrated by Colonel Parker, and it excluded most of Elvis's inner circle and extended family. Many of the Memphis Mafia and their wives were deeply hurt. This party at Graceland was Elvis's way of making it right. It was a lavish celebration for all their friends and family back home who couldn't be at the actual ceremony. This was the true, relaxed celebration, allowing them to finally share their marriage with the people who mattered most. Horseback riding at Graceland was more than a hobby, it was a shared passion. In 1966, Elvis purchased horses and had stables built on the property. This photo from 1967 shows Priscilla riding a beautiful dark horse. While Priscilla's personal horse was a Palomino named Rising Sun, this horse appears to be Domino, Elvis's own prized black quarter horse. This shows the trust and comfort she had with the animals. Riding became a major part of their life together at Graceland. It was one of the few activities where Elvis could feel a sense of freedom and escape, and he loved sharing that experience with Priscilla on the grounds of their private estate. This photo captures the exact moment the vacation ended and the hard work began. On June 2, 1968, Elvis and Priscilla are seen arriving in Los Angeles, returning from their Hawaiian getaway with their infant daughter Lisa Marie. This was the end of their last break. The very next day, Elvis was scheduled to report to NBC's studios in Burbank to begin rehearsals and taping for his television special. This was the comeback special, the high-stakes project that would either relaunch his career or end it. This image freezes that final moment of calm before Elvis would step into the studio, face his fears and create one of the most electrifying performances in music history. When the king was away, this was Priscilla's constant companion. This photo from around 1967 or 1968 shows her with one of her beloved dogs, most likely her miniature poodle, Honey. Elvis had gifted her the dog, and it became her shadow, following her all over the Graceland mansion. In 1967, she was a new bride, and by 1968, a new mother. With Elvis often away in Hollywood finishing his movie contracts, this dog was a source of comfort and company. This image provides a sweet personal glimpse into her domestic life as the young mistress of Graceland, navigating her new roles as wife and mother. This public smile hides a private struggle. This photo captures Elvis and Priscilla in Las Vegas during his summer festival engagement in August 1971. On stage, Elvis was at the pinnacle of his power, a living god to his adoring fans. Offstage, his marriage was collapsing. The Vegas lifestyle, with its constant separation and Elvis's nocturnal habits, had created a deep rift between them. Priscilla has stated she felt more like a living doll than a wife during this period. This image is a poignant look at one of their last appearances as a couple. Just 6 months later, in February 1972, they would separate for good. A vacation with Elvis was never just a vacation for two. This 1968 photo from Hawaii shows Elvis and Priscilla surrounded by friends, a group famously known as the Memphis Mafia. Elvis rarely, if ever, traveled alone. He paid for his entire entourage, their flights, their hotels, and their food. This trip was essentially Graceland moved to the beach. While it provided a buffer from the public, it also meant Elvis and Priscilla had almost no private time. This was the trip they took with their newborn daughter, Lisa Marie, just before Elvis filmed his '68 comeback special, and it perfectly illustrates the non-stop, communal life that the king always built around him. Just days after sparking a national controversy, Elvis returned to his hometown. This photo was taken on June 16, 1956, at Wink Martindale's Teenage Dance Party, a local Memphis TV show. This was only 11 days after his notorious performance of Hound Dog on The Milton Berle Show, which had scandalized critics across America. Here, back in his comfort zone, Elvis is relaxed, holding a bottle of Coke. This appearance was actually the first time he ever performed Hound Dog on television, but it was his later national performance that caused the uproar. This image captures him on the brink of becoming a cultural battleground. This 1970 photo shoot captures the most important relationship in Elvis's life. Taken at their Hillcrest Drive home in Beverly Hills, this image shows the undeniable, loving bond between Elvis and his daughter Lisa Marie. He was utterly devoted to her, calling her by his nickname, Yisa. She was the center of his universe. At this time, Elvis was at the peak of his comeback, a larger-than-life figure performing sold-out shows. But in moments like this, he was simply Daddy. This professional photo session was famously held just 11 days before Elvis's bizarre and impromptu trip to Washington, D.C., where he would meet with President Richard Nixon.